No, I just did. I had
Okay.
already forgotten with my note in front of me.
All right. Now I'll open us at 7:06. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Oakland Mills Community Association Village Board. We're going to get right underway since we have a packed agenda and we have people waiting to present to us. So to open tonight's meeting, we have two sets of minutes to approve because we held a special session last week to deal with end of fiscal year budget items. So first, I'm going to go back to our last regularly scheduled meeting, which was April 13th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the April 13th meeting?
So moved.
Okay, Ginny makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I caught Lynn's hand first. Lynn seconds. Is there any discussion on the April 13th minutes? Okay, all in favor of approving? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it'll be 4-0-0, Amy. Okay, next we have to approve the minutes from the April 21st, 2021 special board meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Okay, I got Rena first that time. All right, is there any discussion of those minutes? All right, all in favor of approving the minutes from the April 21st board meeting? 1, 2, 3, 4-0-0, Amy. Okay, and then finally, to get tonight's meeting started, we need a motion to approve the proposed agenda for tonight's board meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Rebecca, I saw Rebecca's hand first that time. Okay, any discussion of tonight's agenda? All right, all in favor? Okay, 4-0-0, we are underway. All right, next on the agenda, we have resident remarks. If you're a resident wishing to make remarks, you have 3 minutes where you can make remarks to the board. The board would have the option of following up with any questions. If you would like to make remarks now, please use the hand raise feature in Zoom or turn on your video and give me a wave, and I will do my best to call you in the order I see you. So is there anyone here for resident remarks? Okay, I see Kay first. Is there anyone else? Okay, I think I just see Kay. So let me set my trusty timer here for 3 minutes. And Kay, if you want to go ahead and unmute, you have the floor.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, it won't take 3 minutes. I just want to make sure, since we are going to have a presentation from a commercial entity about the Exxon lot, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Back in the day when I was on the board, I remember we set up a special committee aside from the RAC, which mostly deals with residential requests, to look at commercial development. Does that committee still exist, and is it manned, is what I want to know.
Yes and yes. Several members are here tonight.
That's all I want to know, Jonathan. That was it.
Okay. Yes, it's called the NRAC, the Non-Residential Architecture Advisory Committee. Did I get that?
How could I forget? Yeah. Okay, right. That's all I wanted to know.
Yes, we have members here, and I'll do my best to explain the process. The non-residential process is an interesting one because it starts with a presentation to the board as the board, not as the architecture committee, which means I actually have to preside over that rather than Lynn. Odd as that sounds, since she's actually the architecture chair, and then there's a public comment period. The NRAC does work with the proposal, so it's actually a bit of a longer process with more direct involvement of the board than our residential process, which really only comes to the board if there's a if someone, yeah, right. If there's a dispute, if someone doesn't agree with the recommendation of the RAC and then what the architecture chair signed off on. So it is a bit different, but we have them here. Yes, Kay.
Nothing.
I'm sorry. Yes, Lynn.
Do you know Mike Vaughn does that all the time too during our RAC. He always calls me Kay and Kay Lynn. Just an important kind of sidebar to that is that this is almost can be considered a pre-submission meeting because there is not yet an actual application. So the application process kicks in at the end of this. And this is also distinct from anything that happens on the county side of it, which is a whole other process. So just to clarify that.
You just saved me some hot air a little later. Thanks, Lynn. All right, I believe that was everyone for resident speak out. Okay, so our new business tonight is to hear a presentation from the group that is looking to potentially build a 7-Eleven convenience store, gas station, and I believe car wash at 5901 Stevens Forest Road, which is more commonly known to those of us who have been around for a while as the old Exxon lot, but officially it's 5901 Stevens Forest Road. So they are going to do a presentation. As Kay and Lynn have already indicated, this is the start of a process by which we, the Oakland Mills Community Association, as advised by our non-residential architecture advisory committee, consider a proposal based on its architecture merit. So this is the initial proposal. And then once the application comes in, there is a public comment period where we'll put the information out publicly, and members of the public can comment. That information will be shared with the board and with the NRAC. The NRAC will make recommendations to the board at the end of the process, and ultimately the board will decide what, from an architectural perspective, whether it wants to approve as submitted, or approve with provisions, or potentially send back for more work. As Lynn was saying, that's our role in the process. If the county may also play a role, so anything presented here, any approvals we ultimately do, are not the equivalent of approval of, for example, an FDP amendment or anything like that. So there is also likely a concurrent county process that will have to happen. But for right now, we're gathered here to see the presentation from an architectural perspective. Sandy, Lynn, is there anything else you want me to add to that?
No, I just wanted to know who from the 7-Eleven group wants to be co-host to present the slides and unmute people. So
I'm Sandy, I'm prepared to present the slides if I can share my screen.
yeah, I'm going to make you a co-host.
Okay.
And then is there
Okay.
anyone you want me to unmute from your team here?
Yes. You'll see Eric McWilliams, who is
He's some, yeah, he's
yeah,
there.
he's under Eric's iPhone. There he is.
Oh, okay. Hi. Okay.
And also Lisa Miskowski. I
Okay.
saw Lisa here a moment ago.
Okay. We're good. So you are co-host.
And although they won't be presenting other than to say hello, and we have John Dixon and Bill Steffi. Maybe you guys can wave and acknowledge yourself. They won't be presenting this evening, but they're from representatives from Reliable Real Estate Services, LLC. And so they're here this evening as well.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Erskine. If you're ready to go, you're a co-host now. So you and I'll call you the 7-Eleven team. You and the 7-Eleven team have 30 minutes to make a presentation. And if you could leave a little time at the end in case there are any questions.
Okay. And if we're getting close, just wave to me and we'll try to move along more quickly. Before we begin, I'd just like to introduce myself. My name is Bill Erskine, and I'm a local land use attorney here in Howard County with the law firm of Offutt Kerman. I'm here today representing Reliable Real Estate Services, LLC. And you see John Dixon and Bill Steffi are here with us this evening. Reliable Real Estate Services is a company that, among the things that they do, is they're a site developer for the 7-Eleven Corporation. And as has been stated earlier, they are interested in bringing gasoline service back to the Village Center. They are interested in developing a gasoline service station with a convenience store and a car wash. I have a presentation that I'd like to share on the screen, but I also intend to leave it with Ms. Cedarbaum so that it can be available to everyone, the community, anyone else who would have an interest. I have to tell you, it's 66 slides long, but that doesn't mean we're going to go through every slide. I have two speakers primarily. One is Mr. Eric McWilliams. He's with the engineering firm Bowler Engineering. and Lisa Miskowski is with the Dimensions Group, an architectural firm. So if I could share my screen now. There we are. Is that now visible? Are we able to see the screen with a little red dot in the center?
Yes,
see
we
it.
are.
Okay, and can you see my cursor as I move that around? Is that visible?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right, well, to begin, this is the same slide deck that I will provide to you after this presentation. And I've taken the time to put in little bookmarks which can help you quickly jump to a section that might interest you. And as you can see, it starts out with 3 slides on the site history. I thought that there may be people that don't remember the Exxon station. Maybe they didn't live here, or maybe they weren't even born yet. And they might benefit to know that actually the site was once developed with a, I think it started as a golf station, because there's a site development plan on record. But I know that subsequent to that, it became an Exxon station. Then Mr. McWilliams is going to jump right into sort of the civil engineering side of that, and that'll involve a review of the rendered site plan, a landscaping plan. There'll be a discussion on a retaining wall that is being proposed for the rear of the site. Then there'll be a discussion on the sign package, the typical 7-Eleven sign package. We'll move quickly through that. As I said, it's 19 pages long, and it'll be available for the public and for the board members to review. We'll then get into the lighting of the site, including the fixtures. The fixtures are produced by a company called Cree Lighting. That's CREE Lighting. And they have also prepared a photometric study that we'll go through. And then what we all came here for tonight is a presentation on the architectural aspects of the proposed 7-Eleven. I have to say, and I think that you'll agree when this is done, that this is perhaps the most, I can say for myself personally, it's the most architecturally enhanced 7-Eleven that I've ever seen. And I'm pleased to see that. And they've really presented what I think is a very attractive building that I hope the community will enjoy. So just to begin, if I can, I'm going to speak to the history. What you see, this is an aerial photograph from the county website. It was taken in 1975, and it shows here a developed site with a gasoline service station. It appears to me like it used to maybe have service bays as well. So this was in 75, and for 25, 27 years, perhaps, it operated as a gasoline service station. But then sometime just prior to 2002, I think it was in 2000 or 2001, Exxon raised the building. And by raised the building, I mean they lowered the building and took it away. They scraped the site. These dark areas that you see, that's fresh asphalt where they pulled some tanks apparently. And the entire building has been just lowered right down to the asphalt and concrete. And there's really no other surface improvements to that. And that was around the 2000 timeframe. And essentially, this is a 2020 aerial photography taken just last year. And as you can see, absolutely nothing really has changed about the site other than that the asphalt has faded somewhat. It's not quite as dark as it used to be. But all the other things about, the village, I mean, it's amazing to look at the time from 75, they had apartments that were nearby, and the village center was obviously developed or developing at that time. So a lot has changed, but also a lot has stayed the same. So with that introduction, as I said, the intent is to bring gasoline services back to the village center. And I would like to call upon Eric McWilliams at this point in order to have him sort of prevent the engineering side of this. So if I can find you, Eric. Do I see you? There you are. Okay, so you're unmuted, Eric?
I'm unmuted, Phil.
Okay, all right. And you're able to see the site. I'm going to advance to the rendered site plan. And
Can you make it a little larger on
I-
your screen?
Yes, I absolutely can.
Thanks.
Yeah, actually, if you take away the sidebar menu, the bookmark menu down there, or the sidebar menu, that will
There.
make it bigger.
How's that? Is that better?
Great, yeah, thank you.
Okay. Mr. McWilliams, if you would, please, could you explain to the board and staff in the community what it is that's being proposed for the former Exxon site?
Absolutely, I'd be honored to. My name's Eric McWilliams, as Bill stated, project manager with Bowler Engineering. I appreciate the opportunity to present this site to you today, and to discuss the revitalization of this long abandoned facility. The site's located at the southeastern intersection of Stevens Forest Road and Robert Oliver Place in the Columbia Village Center core of Oakland Mills. It consists of one existing parcel for a total of 1.7 acres. The site would be a redevelopment. As Bill stated earlier, the property was abandoned since the early 2000s and was historically an automobile repair automobile gasoline and repair facility. Currently, there are 4 entrances, 2 on Stevens Forest and 2 on Robert Oliver Place. We propose to keep those entrances as they are. The proposed site plan consists of a 3,400 square foot convenience store with a six dispenser, a multi-product dispenser, canopy, and an automated car wash with stacking. The required parking spaces is 17. We'd like to provide 28 parking spaces for employees and customers. The dumpster enclosure and loading area have been located as far away from the street as we could get in the lower rear corner of the site. They will be screened with landscaping from both the adjoining property as well as the street itself. They're keeping the existing, we already went through that. The lighting will be designed according to the county and village board standards, and the landscape design will be situated or has been designed in such a way that it would screen headlight glare out onto Stevens Forest and the adjacent properties.
Would you like me to advance to the landscaping plan, Mr. McWilliams? Would that be helpful?
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
please.
so, yeah, this is, okay, so that's the first sheet of the landscape plan, and I can zoom in so it's easier to view. Could you briefly give an overview of what is being proposed in terms of landscaping for the site? And also, I know that you have a key here that explains the types of trees and the numbers, and that's off to the right on screen here. And then on the very next page, I believe that we have a photo image of all the different varieties of plantings. Is that correct?
Yes, yep, absolutely. So I think that the first attempt here at landscaping is to try to retain the existing trees along Stevens Forest and Robert Oliver. That is subject, to keeping these entrances and minimizing the disturbance on the site in those locations. We believe that's a very strong possibility. Behind that, we're proposing additional trees, an additional row of shade trees along Stevens Forest and Robert Oliver, and then a hedgerow, a 3-foot hedgerow along Stevens Forest where the stacked canopy is, also a 3-foot hedgerow along the proposed car wash. Both of those are so that it would reduce headlight glare out into Stevens Forest and the adjacent property across the street. There will be additional screening trees towards the the southern portion of the site along Stevens Forest and along the property line to the adjacent commercial site, as well as to the rear. There'll be some screening provided for the adjacent commercial property to the rear of the site. The dumpster will be screened, as you can see, with it's a viburnum, so it grows fairly large, up to 8. Actually, it can get up to 15 feet, but we're thinking that it's going to be maintained around 6 feet to soften the dumpster enclosure. The side of the car wash also has some foundation plantings on it as well. And then I'd also like to point out the location of the wall. There'll be a retaining wall on the rear of the site. If you're familiar with this property, it's fairly flat until you get to the rear of the site where there's a substantial slope. We're going to have to push back into that slope a small amount, and we're proposing a retaining wall that'll traverse the rear of the property about a third to a half in the center, directly behind the existing convenient or the proposed convenience store. And we'll get into the detail of that retaining wall in a little bit.
This is just more landscaping standard specifications, is that correct?
It is, yeah. In essence, we prepared a landscape plan this first flush according to the village board requirements, as well as having worked with Columbia Association before, and also the county requirements. So basically, this is a ready to submit type plan. Obviously, as comments come through, it'll be slightly adjusted prior to that submittal date. This is a photo board of the suggested plant material. Each of these trees matches what we proposed in the landscape plan. So the London plane tree is a very probably well-known and very durable street tree. The red oak, the green spire linden, whatever we plant there will not be go to the ground as far as that particular version does. It'll have a trunk as normal trees do. The green vase alcova is a Japanese or Oriental style tree that's very similar to an elm. It's a bit smaller, it's a bit more dense. The serviceberry is a native tree to our area. It does have a white flower in the springtime, leaves out the remaining, the rest of the summer through the fall. It gets a bright red before the autumn. The eastern redbud is in bloom now. You probably see that as you drive around. It becomes a pretty dense ornamental tree. The hawthorn will be flowering shortly. Oftentimes we use these for screening and or occasionally street trees underneath power lines. The Norway spruce will be for screening. We propose those towards the rear and the side of the site. Eastern white pine is also for screening. It overall grows much faster than probably the Norway spruce, which puts on about 12 to 16 inches in a year. The eastern white pine can grow up to 2 feet, a little over 2 feet in a year. So you'll get some relatively quick screening within a decade, or less than a decade, actually. The sweet spire is a native shrub as well. Provides a good hedge and also some ornamental quality to it with the flowers. The New Jersey tea is more of a low-lying ornamental. The Carefree Wonder Rose is a shrub rose. It's very durable, very disease hardy, and obviously offers a punch of color for different areas. The euonymus is a very good screening shrub. It's evergreen year round. Maintains pretty much that same green color, dark green color throughout the seasons, including the winter. The juniper is a low lying, more of a ground cover type of shrub. And then the leatherleaf viburnum is what we showed around the dumpster area. And you can see that's a fairly large version there. They will probably keep it more trimmed, but it will still be a good screening plant.
Okay. And you talked about a wall. Is this a representative type of a block wall that would or could be utilized?
Yes, yeah. The rear wall maximum height in this location will be, we're based on a preliminary grading, will be about 6 feet. There'll be two small portions where it raises to 6 feet, and the rest of the area, it'll be 4 feet and below. So we were thinking of a wall like this. It's behind the store. It's attractive. And
this is a block, like where this is interlocking blocks. It's not a poured concrete, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
So now I'm mindful of the time, and I want to leave plenty of time for questions. So this is an overview of the sign package, and it's 19 pages long. So I want to move a little bit more readily. But could you, as we go through, kind of give just an overview of the 7-Eleven sign package?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I'm sorry to interrupt. We can give a little more time if you need it. We didn't realize how big the package would be.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Then I'll slow down just a little bit. Okay. Mr. McWilliams, would you like to discuss the sign package?
Yes, absolutely. So you've got the front of the store on the top, and I believe it's the left-hand side of the store on the lower side. And both of those will be placed in the building as you see here today. They are illuminated from within by an LED. So it's a color covering with an LED illumination in the back to give it some brightness.
And this is more details on the lettering and its composition. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep. And we can get into that.
If there's any questions from the board, we'd be happy to address it either as we go or at the end of the presentation would be fine. And is this the front door entrance? Is that a typical 7-Eleven front door entrance?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, and this is, does this show the proposed canopy for the fueling stations? Is that correct?
That is correct. Yep.
Okay.
So the 7-Eleven insignia with the stripes down the side of the canopy.
Okay. And we have better elevations that Ms. Miskowski will speak about, but is the proposal to wrap the columns in similar materials as to the exterior of the building itself?
Yes. Yeah. And this is just looking at it from Stevens Forest Road, and then the top version is looking at it from the store out towards Stevens Forest.
So, sorry to interrupt again. I'm just going to ask members of the board or the NRAC, if you have questions, can you save them till the end? Because I can't see all of you raising your hands and see the presentation at the same time. So I wouldn't be able to call on anyone. I won't know who's trying to speak.
And is this the car wash signage that would accompany the?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So the entrance exit, obviously that's as much informational as it is safety. And then the car wash, what it is on the side.
More details about the lettering for each one of those signs?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Directional signage, more directional signage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is a monument sign, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, and where on the site would that be located?
It's on the corner.
Stevens Forest and Robert Oliver,
Robert
near
Oliver.
that corner,
Yes, yep,
and setback from the roadway.
it is. At this point, it's shown around 20 feet back from Stevens Forest. And a little farther than that from Robert Oliver.
And all of the signs that we just went through, can the specific location of them can be found by these, for example, the monument we just spoke about. This is the location of the monument sign, is that correct?
That is correct.
And this chart on the side, you can go to the previous slides to find out what those signs would look like.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yep, that is correct.
Okay, so what, just very briefly, can you explain what a photometric study is and what is it that we're looking at on the slide here?
Yeah, so a photometric plan, if you've never seen one before, is really a calculation of the luminosity at the ground level of the lighting. So 1 foot candle is fairly dim, kind of what you see in a movie theater before the show starts. But when you're dealing with lighting, it's really relative. So that the max to the min, the change from the lowest lumen to the highest. And what we try to do, Cree designed this, but generally in lighting design, what we try to do is keep it from a max to min of less than 15. When you get over 15, you start to get glare, you start to get dark spots. No matter what the actual reading is, your eyes can't adjust to that kind of change that quickly. So in this case, the max to min throughout the paved area of the site is 13.58, which is a good number to have and be able to safely see throughout the site. The canopy itself is brighter. If you look at those numbers, generally, the reason for that is that when you're inside the store, the cashier, or the managers, et cetera, have to be able to see what's going on in the canopy, and the store itself is brighter. So the canopy needs to be brighter in order to create that visibility. Or you get that situation, and I'm sure you've experienced this before, when you're looking at a window and it's darker outside, you basically see your own reflection. So overall site, is designed in such a manner to prevent glare, and the canopy itself is designed in a manner to be able to safely see from the store out to the canopy and what's going on out there.
Mr. McWilliams, there's labels and quantities of each signs and locations throughout the site. Do those correlate to some product sheets that we have from Cree Lighting, that if the board wanted to correlate these symbols and the locations, do these, well, here it is, for example, this is cut sheets from the Cree Lighting. These, for example, would be the mounting brackets that different light fixtures would be mounted on. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, these are for mounting onto a wall or a structure.
Okay.
There's post top brackets for single and double headed lighting.
So now we're getting into the light fixtures themselves. Can you discuss what's being proposed for the canopy lighting?
Sure. These are low profile lights that'll be underneath the canopy. And if we could go, Bill, can we run back to that photometric plan?
Sure.
Just real quick. Hate to have you move back and forth too much.
All right.
But if you look at the canopy and you see those little blue squares, the light we were just looking at will be located in those squares. They're a low profile, and then you've got the edge of the canopy that extends down over them so that they don't shoot out in the parking area. So basically, because of their positioning and their profile, it generally just lights underneath the canopy and doesn't send extracurricular lighting throughout the site and of course out into the public right away.
And this is the type of canopy light, the flat lens that's being proposed, is that correct?
It is, yes.
And this is LED lighting, is that correct?
It is. It is. All the lights that we're going to go through are LED with a general white look to the light.
Okay. And these are more of the specifications for the lighting products?
Yes. Yep.
And is this the type of base that some of the parking lot lighting would be on? Is that correct?
That is correct. There'll be a concrete cylinder, and then this will be mounted. The pole itself will be mounted on top of that.
This is representative of the area lighting fixture?
It is. It is. Yeah, and that's a silver there. Generally, on most 7-Eleven sites, it's a black, but which is an option down in the ordering information. And also LED, and LEDs are directional, which means that each LED unit, if you look at the bottom of it, they're made of many little individual lights. And each LED is pointed in a certain direction. So it's LEDs, as you might be aware, are much easier to control the light spillage as compared to the old mercury or halide lights, sodium halide lights.
And this product detail, is that of the wall light?
It is. Yep. And this will be these are the lights that will be mounted onto the building.
Okay, and the color could be different, but that's representative of the style.
Correct.
All right. I think that concludes your part of the presentation, Mr. McWilliams, and Lisa Miskowski, if you're available, I'd like to, I guess, elevate you. I have to find you.
I think I should be off mute. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, is that Lisa speaking?
It is, yeah, perfect.
Okay, all right, thank you. That was easy.
Yeah.
So let's start off with you're able to see the screen right now, and this is a photograph of a recently developed 7-Eleven site. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, that's out here in Colorado.
Okay, and while we're here, and I know we have other elevations, but can you just describe some of the architectural features that we're looking at, and in particular the ones that are similar to be proposed here in the on the Stevens Forest Road site?
Sure, yeah. So we chose these images because they represent the store that we're proposing in terms of materiality and some of the design concepts. So for example, the stone, the metal, and the ephes, along with the engineered wood panels on the storefront. Those are similar to what we're proposing on our elevations. These also do show some faux windows on the side elevation, which also we are proposing in ours. The signage will be slightly different, obviously, as we just saw, but for the most part, the fuel canopy, the wraps will be pretty similar in terms of a stone wrap that goes about 3/4 of the way up.
And this is representative of the lighting fixtures and how that relates to the canopy?
Exactly, yeah. It'll be very similar.
All right. I think there's one more similar slide. I don't think that really gives us much more additional detail. So these are the actual architectural elevations for this proposed building that your company prepared. Is that accurate?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so why don't we, well, you can begin where you're most comfortable. This looks like it's the front of the building. This would face towards Stevens Forest Road. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Why don't you walk us through and describe some of the significant architectural, features of this building, and also discuss the materials as you go along.
Sure. So the architectural concept for this store is to provide the community with a modern commercial development that will utilize materials, as you see, such as stone, metals, ephes, and engineered wood Nichiha panels. The main building field colors will fall into natural earth tone ranges, so no intense bright or fluorescent colors are proposed. The building will include variable height parapets and architectural accents to break up the monolithic shapes and surfaces, along with emphasizing key building features such as entry points, the main storefront. Parapets are also used to hide the rooftop unit equipment. So backlit windows are proposed as well. Those will be using a frosted film. Those are also to break up those larger horizontal spans that you're seeing on the rear and the sides of the store. Four-sided design is also provided by adding these architectural enhancements, such as the stone wainscoting around the building, raised parapets, pilasters, and the
So
architectural.
the stone exterior is brought around all four sides of the building?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
And then the fuel canopy columns and trash enclosure, along with the car wash on the next page, also have similar design aspects and materials.
Why don't we talk about the materials since it's up here? And incidentally, when we make our submission, I have physical copies of samples of these products, these materials that I can drop off at the Village Center for the board to physically touch and feel.
Okay. So all the metal that's proposed will be a dark bronze finish. These will be on the storefront awnings, along with anywhere that you're basically seeing metal will be dark bronze. The stone that we're proposing is El Dorado stone. It'll be a stone veneer. We also show Nichiha wood panels, which you can see on the storefront and wrapping around on the four sides of the building as well. We are also proposing ephes on all sides of the building. And the canopy wrap will be the same stone that we're proposing as well, along with the stone that's on the car wash and the dumpster enclosure.
Okay. And you said the car wash was on the next sheet, is that right?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so similar design aspects here as well, with the raised parapets and those bump outs, along with the same materials.
Okay. Designed to look very much like the main convenience store.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. All right, well, we got through 66 pages of presentation. So at that point, I guess we can open up for questions if there are questions. So I would return, do I need to do anything to return control, Ms. Cedarbaum, or?
You're fine. Why don't you retain control of the screen sharing in case a question leads you to a slide in the show? And I'll take questions from members of the board and members of the NRAC. So I saw Phil Engelke, he's a member of our NRAC. I saw his hand, and I saw Bill after Phil, who's a member of our board. Phil, you'll have to unmute.
Okay, can you hear me?
There you are. Yep.
Yeah, I have a question. In the example you showed from Colorado, which is very helpful, the graphics on the canopy look different than the sign package we just saw a little while ago. With the graphic treatment of the facility you're proposing for Stevens Forest, would the graphics look like the graphics that that are in this photograph, to put it simply?
Yes. At this point, we are proposing the graphics within the sign package, which do have what 7-Eleven calls the racing stripes down the side of the canopy.
Oh, okay, but you're not showing them in this particular example.
Understood. This is an actual store in Colorado that they just constructed. And I don't know the history of the signage or the sign requirements in this jurisdiction. Lisa may be able to answer that. But what they're proposing for our site is a similar building, a similar canopy, but with the signage package that we presented, which do have that multicolored racing stripe down the side.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, Phil. Bill?
Yes, quick observation, please. That when you look at all the greenery, the trees, bushes, shrubs, et cetera, that you're going to use, please look at everything from the point of view of open sight lines for safety, for vehicles entering the site, leaving the site, and moving on the site. And for pedestrians, the same, coming in, leaving, and being on site. Those open sight lines, safety is really important. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, are there additional questions? I see Rebecca and then Lynn.
Just a quick question. On your plant list, it listed euonymus, which is a really terrible invasive. Why is that? You had a lot of great, really good natives that I love, and I was happy to see those, but why euonymus?
So the reason we chose euonymus in this instance, really the native evergreen trees or shrubs is limited to inkberry holly, which is very sparse, and or Ilex opaca, which is the American holly, which is basically a small tree. So we were trying to find a shrub that would block the headlight glare or potential headlight glare from cars parked under the canopy and coming out of the car wash year round. And that's why we went with the euonymus. We could certainly, take another look at it and see if there's something that would, not be quite as have that potential for invasiveness that would give us that evergreen quality. Most likely, though, we're going to have to pull it out of the native element.
Mm-hmm. And the same with the Norway spruce. There's certainly other alternatives to that one. I know the evergreen thing is an issue.
There are. I've not ever seen, and I do a lot of hiking. A situation in which the Norway was invasive. Now the Norway maple is highly invasive, but the Norway spruce I've never seen an abundance of. Matter of fact, I can't think of a situation where I've seen them out in the wild.
It's definitely on the invasive list. Whether I don't know if it's that widespread like the euonymus is or not, but it's definitely on the list.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we can certainly find substitutes for it.
Okay, Lynn and then Jervis.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. You said that you were going to make every attempt to keep the street trees that are already there. So I'm guessing it's as it might interfere with the entrances in and out. Is that the concern?
As far as keeping the trees?
Yeah, the street trees that are already there.
Yeah. So I think once we get into dealing with traffic and the county as far as those entrances go, if they were to be modified, or if there's some modification that's going to be required of the sidewalk or the road frontage, etc., then the disturbance to those trees will probably be too much for them to bear, and we'll have to replace them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because replacing mature trees with new trees it's going to be a while until they really provide the screening you're looking for. And I had a couple of other questions. One is that when I understand that the the frontage onto Stevens Forest Road, the direct view will be to the front of the building that we've seen presented. And the bays for the canopy for the gas pumps and everything will be on the Robert Oliver side. Is that correct? Going back to the
To the rendered plan, is that
yeah, just to the
Okay,
side plan,
yeah.
just so I can see how that works.
here?
Yeah, okay, so Stevens Forest, it looks like people driving down Stevens Forest, what you're gonna see is the gas pumps, not the convenience store. Is there a reason to do that and not switch that around?
Generally, they, the vendor, the 7-Eleven would want those gas pumps on the main road. You can see through the canopy. It's not a complete obstruction. It's fairly tall, so you will see the store through that canopy.
Yeah, kind of, but what you're mainly gonna see are the gas pumps and the car wash. Just clarifying that that's what we're looking at, correct?
Yes, yep.
Okay, and then I had a final question, which is about the canopy, that the example that you showed, the photograph, has what looks like a metal facing to the canopy, and you said that it was going to have the same materials, the stone coming up in the pillars, and then across the front of it, the wood. Is that correct? What is with the canopy? What are we going to see facing Stevens Forest Road as far as the canopy goes?
So what you'll see as far as canopy goes will be from that signage package.
Uh-huh.
That's interesting.
Okay, but so we've got the racing stripes, and what's above the racing stripes? Nothing. That's just measurement. I can't. It's so small. I can't see. Okay, so
Yeah.
and the racing stripes are on what kind of a background?
The materials, I don't have that answer. I could probably get it for you,
Okay.
but I'm not sure what that material is.
Okay.
Whether
Thank you.
it's generally a metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an aluminum composite material, so it'll be an aluminum metal on the back of that.
Okay. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Oh, I'm speaking on mute. I'm sorry. I was saying Jervis, and then I have a couple of questions if there's no one else. So go ahead, Jervis.
Yes. Yes. Well, first of all, the news that you're interested in building on this vacant site is really encouraging. It's the best news I've had in years because it's been such an eyesore for the past 10 years. However, I've also lived here for over 40 years and remember the original, actually 50 years. I remember the original village center being built, and there was a great effort
And
for
mother,
the
here.
made up the
I'll have to
village
talk to her in the
center
morning. Be nice.
common architectural theme. And the original gas station followed very much the architecture of the retail center, which at that time took its key from the two barns. So it all looked very farm-like in character. I know you're not going to be able to do that here, but I would ask that you make some gesture towards the existing village center, parts that are owned by Cedar Properties. It's quite a handsome village center. It was rebuilt 20 years ago, and the color palette is very different from what you're proposing. There is no stone, but there is brick, and there is metal panel on the roofs of a color, and there's a lot of white stucco. And I'd like to think that at least you would make the color palette of this 7-Eleven the same as the village center. So at least it looks like it's part of something else, not simply scooped off, you know, Route 40 or somewhere else and plunked down in a Columbia village. It is a very special location. You don't need the recognition that you might need on a super highway or on Route 40 or 32. Everybody that's going to shop here knows you're here. You don't have to suddenly tell everybody who you are. We know who you are. And so I think also the signage package could be reduced somewhat in its prominence. And certainly the racing stripes on the canopy, I find very commercial and not really commensurate with the kind of architecture you find in the Columbia Village centers. And that's about it. Otherwise, I'm just pleased that you're here and that we can work with you.
All right, thank you, Jervis. So I'm trying to get my view back here. Sorry about that. Question I had, or a couple of questions I had, as you present the architecture of the building, it looks like basically the front of the store is the public entrance. Are there going to be any other doorways, any other access to the building open to the public, or is everything for the public routed through the front of the store, restrooms and everything is inside?
There will be an additional exit on the north elevation. I don't know if we can pull that up. And restrooms will be in the rear too. So it'll connect right to about that back room area, back of house area rather. Yeah, so it is that single door next to the double doors there. And that'll be for the public.
Okay, so that's another entrance into the store.
Correct.
Okay. My other question was, when you showed the interlocking stone retaining wall, that looked very nice. In the picture you showed, there was also like a PVC fence on top of that. Was that just that picture, or are you proposing the same thing for this site, or would it just stop at the stone wall?
It would just stop at the stone wall. The screening requirements for the site wouldn't necessitate that that 6-foot board on board opaque type of additional screening.
Okay.
There will be some sort of barrier though, some sort of fence, just to protect anybody that would happen to be up there. But it would not be that solid type of fence wall.
Okay, so when you determine what that is, we would need to see that as well. I was just curious about whether that was just a convenient picture you had or actually part of the plan.
Just the picture,
Okay, all right,
yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, are there any, I'm having trouble getting all my participants back in view. Are there any other questions? I'm kind of scrolling through. I don't think I see any hands,
Kay has a
but I
question.
can't see everyone at once. Kay does?
Yeah.
Yep.
Go ahead, Kay.
Okay, has anyone shown these gentlemen the Village Center Community Plan, the old VCCP of 2015? This document, any redevelopment of the Village Center is supposed to be part of this process. As I understand, this parcel is in the area that we defined in the VCCP. Is that not true?
Yes, it is.
And I just think it would be nice if they were given this plan. They may not have seen it. We had very high hopes for the Village Center, and maybe it'd be good for them to see it and to also understand that redeveloping in the center, you have to go through a process defined by Council Bill 29-2009.
I don't know, Sandy, I don't know whether I know you provided the streetscape information. Did you provide that as part of the VCCP or separate?
I'll give Bill the website. It's linked on our website.
Okay.
Might be nice to give them an actual copy. We've got plenty of them.
Well, absolutely.
Well, electronic's fine if it's available.
It is on our website.
And what do you call it? The DC?
Village
Village
Center Community Plan, V as in Victor, C, Charlie, P as in Paul.
And I'll
And it's
send
a
you the
county
link.
law. It's a county regulation and a county law. And we did this in order to conform with county regulations for redevelopment of any village center in Columbia. We went through an arduous process, took over a year, and I don't think it should be thrown out just because, well, just because.
And my understanding from the county is that as the county receives any plans or proposals, the county is also going to look back to the village board. So the county is going to play its role in the VCCP and ensure that, the village board and the county are talking about any developments in the village
I
center.
just hope the village board keeps it in mind too. There's been a lot of turnover and
Yeah.
I'm not sure that the new members have even seen it.
Lynn?
I just want to thank the team, the 7-Eleven team, and Mr. Erskine, that this was a really thorough and easy to follow presentation. It makes it kind of a fun thing for us to go through it in more detail because all the detail is here.
Yes, thank you very much. And obviously this is, oh, David, did you have a question or were you waving thanks?
No, I just wanted to second Lynn's thanks to the team, and I'm really looking forward. I appreciate that they're giving us copies of the package. I look forward to looking through it and working with the team to come up with a solution that solves everybody's goals. That's definitely why I was willing to become part of the RAC and the NRAC, is that we try our best to find a way to have it all work. And I'm looking forward to taking part in that. That's all I got.
All right. Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the 7-Eleven team for coming in and making this presentation. It was a very, very thorough and informative presentation. And I know Sandy has been working with you on the process. So Sandy will be in touch with you on next steps with the process. And for our NRAC members, Sandy will be also in touch with you on next steps for the process. And of course, the board will ultimately have a role in this as well. And we'll be discussing this as well as we convene the new board in a couple of weeks. So we'll have Warren joining us in all of this. Thank you again for coming out. And if there are no further questions, we're going to move on to our next item on the agenda.
Well, thank you, everyone. We've enjoyed having this opportunity, and we look forward to working with the board and the community as we hopefully bring this this project together. So thank you again.
All right. Thanks very much.
We're going to sign off if that's the same, if that's all right.
You're welcome to stay for the rest of the fun.
I'm sure.
Feel free to...
I haven't had dinner yet, so I'm going to leave.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Yep. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on our agenda, it's all old business. So the first thing, this is an interesting one. This is the last week for the current board, and the new board basically takes effect on May 1st, but we won't convene in a board meeting until the week after that. In between, next week is a Board of Education hearing on the fiscal 22 capital budget and the capital improvement plan for fiscal 23 and beyond. So I've drafted testimony based heavily on the testimony I delivered to the county council. Was that just last week? I think it was last week, for Oakland Mills High School and Oakland Mills Middle School. Unfortunately, I sent it to all of you about like 10 or 15 minutes before this meeting started because the Education Committee met right before and I wanted to run it by them. I would like to, be able to take that to the Board of Education, next week, even though we will be switching from one board to the next, and deliver the testimony on behalf of OMCA, because I think it's important that, even though it doesn't align with our, our board changeover schedule, it is our opportunity to speak to the Board of Education about what they've been doing, and more importantly, what they have not been doing with their capital budget and capital plan. I'm going to bring it up on the screen real quickly because it is a little bit different than, see, I'm doing that thing again where I'm trying to talk and operates things at the same time, and it never works. I should just slow down. It is a little bit different than what you saw me deliver to the county council the other day, because it is for the Board of Education. So why is it not giving me an option to share it? Maybe I need to, hang on. There it is. So I'll highlight for you the differences between what I shared with the county council and what I'm proposing we share with the Board of Education, given that it's the Board of Education that actually starts the capital process, sets their budget requests, and establishes the plan. So it starts off with the usual thanks for Talbot Springs, that's unchanged. And then it moves on to the, hey, you're going to let Oakland Mills High and Oakland Mills Middle have the same fate as Talbot Springs if you don't do something soon. So that's the same. It comes up with the same maintenance costs, the same health and safety concerns, the same why is Oakland Mills High School not even in the community plan? You have to provide safe and healthy learning environments. All of that's the same as the county council stuff. It gets a little bit different here. I acknowledge that they're facing, a big bill, right? $800 million in deferred maintenance, but I'm asking, why are you neglecting these two when you're doing upgrades and renovations to newer buildings? And, of any two buildings it could be, how come they happen to be not just in the same cluster, but in the same community? And they're 20% of everything you've deferred across all the buildings you have, which is, over 70 buildings. The next paragraph is the same as the one I delivered to the council. It's basically the one saying, are we creating, two school systems here in Howard County, one where certain groups get nice new buildings or renovated buildings, and another where everyone else gets the rest. And then the last couple of paragraphs are where I really made some changes, because I'm really kind of calling out what the Board of Education has done in the past, because they've kind of set up this cyclical argument for never doing anything for Oakland Mills High and Oakland Mills Middle. I'm saying, we need their attention, we need their commitment. The reason they've given in the past, and they've done this on the record at planning board meetings, the reason they've given for not investing in the Oakland Mills schools is that they prioritize capital investments, and the Oakland Mills schools were under capacity. They're also the ones who set the capacity. They're the ones who do the redistricting and determine who goes where. They're the ones who have avoided using the capacity in the Oakland Mills schools while we border overcrowded schools. So our schools don't need capacity only because they're not putting kids in our schools. If they truly wanted to relieve Howard and some of the surrounding middle schools, they could fill up Oakland Mills Middle and High very easily. But they're not. So then they say, well, we don't need capacity. So then they say we don't need renovations. But then they say we can't really fill these schools because they're not in a good condition to receive so many students. So it becomes this cyclical argument about not filling the school, but then not needing capacity, so not renovating the school, so then not filling the school because it doesn't have the facilities to handle the capacity that they want to put in it. So that's what we're saying. We're saying don't defer them any longer. Don't defer Oakland Mills Middle any longer. You have it in the plan. Keep it where it is in the plan. Get the funding for it. Put Oakland Mills High back in the plan with the commitment that you're going to seek funding for when its time comes up in the plan. And then I have to thank Pat Harrington of the Education Committee for this second to last sentence. Given what you've just heard, I can't come up with a rational reason why you're not putting these schools at the top of the capital improvement list, right? They're existing facilities. You don't need to acquire land. You don't need to do anything but make these facilities nicer, give the students who go there what they deserve, add capacity to bring in more students if you need capacity in the system. So then I just close with the simple statement of fix them and fill them. So that's what I'm proposing to deliver next week. Like I said, obviously we will be between boards. So I'll deliver it as a member. I will be a member of the board, so I'll deliver it as a member of the board, you know, not as the education chair, not as the board chair, because that won't have been determined yet. But I would, you know, appreciate the support in saying we should go ahead and deliver this testimony next week before the new board convenes the week after. Any questions or comments? Bill?
Now I'm unmuted. Okay. Two comments. Go ahead as a board member and deliver this, please. It's really needed. And I watched part of the testimony on TV with, it was a Sam Hahn and somebody else talking about numbers and deferment and all that. And what I felt was we need to stand out in some way, shape, or form, because it gets into all numbers and schedules and et cetera, et cetera. And one thing I thought, and this doesn't get into whether Oakland Mills should get new schools or refurbished, okay, it doesn't get into that. But to say the following, that the first village on the west side of 29 has a new middle school and a new high school. And the first village on the east side of 29 has original schools that have a deferred maintenance of, you know, X number of millions of dollars, so that we begin to get in people's mind the unequal treatment of east side and west side. There's logic involved, but there's also emotion in there. And it points out, hey, we're getting the short end of the stick.
Mm-hmm.
Just my comments.
I like that. Ginny?
First, I want to congratulate Jonathan. I mean, he has been tenacious on this issue. It's just outrageous what's been happening in terms of safety, health, and really paying attention to our older schools. And from a selfish point of view, obviously, Oakland Mills Middle and Oakland Mills High. And one of the other things we discussed that Jonathan has, to his credit, been following up on is the politicians getting our council member, our county executive, the delegation in Annapolis, and our school board representatives involved in fighting for us. They have a lot of say in what happens. Don't let them just say it's only the Board of Education. That's not how the system functions. So I want to congratulate Jonathan for his leadership in this area, and we have got to win this. There are other schools that need money. I think Jonathan gave an example of Centennial, and we all know how much a need there is in Centennial and what the pressure will be there to get funding there and other places and ignore Oakland Mills. It just can't continue. So Jonathan, thank you so much.
Yeah, really good. I don't know whether to say my pleasure, but my commitment, I guess. My mission.
And the pay is great, right, Jonathan?
Oh, the pay is fantastic. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I get a 15% bonus every time I deliver one of these. 15% over my base salary. Yeah. Lynn?
Yeah, I want to thank you too, Jonathan. I think that you did a great job with this. I do want to caution us, though, not to pit ourselves against other schools and other communities in Howard County. I think that the case is clear just by stating, you know, how long it's been, but if you get too much into how come they get it and we don't, I think that gets a little. I think you're just kind of weakening your point and sounding a little, not you personally, but I think that kind of an argument is can seem very self-serving, and I think that we have enough to stand on without saying don't give it to these other schools, give it to us instead. And I know that's not what you're
I've avoided that. What I try to point out is things that have already happened, because if you know, what's done has been done, right. and it's the things that have already happened that really set up that contrast. I mean, yes, we all know that Centennial wants to be renovated. We all know that Dunlogan wants to be renovated. They haven't committed to doing that yet. So it's really a matter of, you know, saying, it's really a matter of saying what doesn't need to be said. When you say Oakland Mills Middle 1972, Oakland Mills High 1973, you've never touched them.
That's all you need to say.
They can then look at the list and go, oh my gosh, well, Centennial is 1976, and you know.
Yeah,
Right.
Jonathan, if I could just agree with Lynn, that wasn't my intent. My intent was just for this group to understand the opposition. But no, we at the Education Committee, we did not suggest we pit one against the other. It's more that this group understands that unless we continue to fight, the other people will be fighting, and we need to understand that. And they will win if we don't continue to fight, but we also have to get the legislators fighting with us because they do play a key role in funding. I know, I've been there, I've done it, gotten money for our district, and they have to come on board with that. No, I agree with you saying, Lynn, that wasn't my intent of what I was saying.
I just wanted to emphasize that.
Oh,
Yeah.
You're absolutely correct. Yeah.
And that's the exact approach we took with Talbot Springs. I mean, we knew there were two other communities kind of in it with us, right? Hammond, King's Contrivance, Hammond, and the Jessup area, you know, for high school 13. And I got to know the folks behind both of those efforts. And, you know, we sort of made an off the record kind of agreement that we're not going to go at each other. We're each going to go in support of our communities, but not at the expense of other communities. This is one of the wealthiest counties in the country. There's no reason they can't do 3 schools at once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that. Moving on through the agenda, we have fiscal 21 year-end status. And I do have one thing. When we did the school donations last week, we did not have complete information from Stevens Forest. We did increase our line item by about $1,000 over what we were donating in case we decided that we wanted to do anything else. Stevens Forest was able to come back with an estimate on that customized, you know, Bobcat entrance. It's a large entrance rug. This entrance rug they want to put in the front of the school, and the estimate they got was for
$450.
Thank you, Sandy, because I had everything queued up here and I am struggling to find it. Yes, $450. So it's one more thing to consider. If we would like to add that to the donation, we still have time to do that. If we would like to say our donations are done and close things out, we have that option as well. And Sandy, I don't know if you had anything else for the fiscal 21 closeout that you wanted to add.
No, not anything from when we talked, no.
Okay, so that's the other item. So basically all I've heard since last week in terms of what we could, you know, apply additional funds to was Stevens Forest was able to get the estimate on that rug that they didn't have when we allocated the amounts last week, because we did allocate according to the information we had, not the information we were hoping to get. Any thoughts or discussion on that?
Someone say something. Speak, Jonathan.
I'm giving everyone a chance to talk before I talk.
What is it that you need us to do? What are you
Oh,
saying?
I want to know if the board wants to consider increasing the donation to Stevens Forest to include that rug that they didn't have a price for last week. But it is $450 for that. It's a, you know, custom printed welcome mat to go in the front of the school.
Oh, yes, I would like for it to include it.
Okay. Would you like to make a motion to
Yes, I make a
increase the
motion that we
donation?
include- I make a motion that we include that additional $450 for the rug for Stevens Forest Elementary.
Okay, is there a second? All right, Bill gives it a second. Is there discussion? All right, all in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 0. Right? 500. It was 400 earlier because Bill was still Coach Bill. Still hustle Bill. All right, very good. So that should close out our fiscal 21. And Sandy, do you want to go into fiscal 22?
Sure. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, that was quick. Everything is the same that the board saw on the 21st. The only thing that I did is I kind of, I lowered the amount of money for utilities because I think it was a little high, and looking at our building expenses in an effort to increase our expenses for special events, because the plant sale that we're having is part of our special events. And even though we take in revenue, that's a good chunk of money. And then if we have any concerts this year, spending on the festival. So I increased that, which what you saw last week was 4,000 to 6,000 in expenses. And I looked at the revenue side, and sorry about that, increase that to 3,500. I'm on the so that was the only change. Everything else is the same as what you saw.
Okay, so how does that change the bottom line?
The bottom line is 51,910, and actually I switched it without saving what I put on here, but it's probably within $1,000 either way.
Okay, all right. So well, actually, this is always odd because the outgoing board commits the incoming board to the new budget. And I was going to make a proposal, but I don't know if I can commit the incoming board to this. I'm actually thinking, given how we ended this year, and given how uncertain next year may be, because the guidance seems to be changing almost daily now as more people are vaccinated. Can we, I guess we could just do this voluntarily as the new board. I was going to say, can we do anything to, require that the new board increase the frequency with which it looks at this? So instead of looking at it quarterly, maybe they do it monthly or every third meeting or something like that, just so that we can stay on top of changing conditions and not.
The thing is, that would probably increase our bookkeeping and accounting, because our bookkeeper puts all the information in and reconciles it at the end of the quarter.
Okay.
For me. I'm not keeping a daily track of everything, and the same with our accountants. So I would hope that maybe, we could do it. It's just going to increase other costs involved in doing it, because it's not information I have, nor that I could do without more bookkeeper hours and accounting hours.
Maybe what we need to commit to doing then is just, when we do the quarterly reviews, scheduling more time and taking a little bit of a deeper dive. I mean, it's great we ended last year in the position we did, but I'd rather take a deeper dive each quarter and know more about maybe where things are heading than, kind of scramble at the end. And I realized some of the scramble at the end was because we were waiting to see what would happen with CA, but I'm honestly just thinking out loud here before we approve this thing, because I know what we're approving is once again very, very conservative, and my hope and my best prediction, given your effectiveness in managing the budget, is that it's not going to look this bad by the end of the year. And if it doesn't look this bad earlier in the year, I'd rather deal with it earlier than save it all till the end.
Yeah, we can do that. I mean,
okay.
They do it at the end of the quarter, and we can even look at it and then have another meeting, like bump up.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. Are there any questions or comments on the fiscal 22 initial budget? All right. Would anyone like a motion to make a motion to approve the fiscal 22 budget? Okay, I see a motion from Bill. I see a second from Lynn. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? That is 500. Thank you very much, Sandy.
You're welcome.
All right, so we are on to the board chair report. I'm going to do a little bit. Oh, you can stop sharing now, so we can see see each other again. I'm going to do the board chair report a little bit different, because I'm going to kind of turn my board chair report over to the board because I know a few members have reached out to me asking if we could take some time at the last meeting of the year, specifically to recognize people like Sandy and Amy and Brigida and Karina, who, worked so hard through everything, sometimes did double duty, covered other people's jobs, did all kinds of stuff to keep things going while most of the staff was away. So I'd like to turn it over to anyone who would like to speak. And then Sandy, I have something special we want to share with you at the end. Okay, Lynn and then Bill.
Well, I just have to thank Sandy and her team. They've been phenomenal, just stepping up, and I think things have gone so well. And it's been actually, despite all of the difficulties, it's been a real joy to work with all of them this year.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn. Bill?
Yeah, I second that, Lynn. Very well said. And for me, it's a whole lot of fun working with all of you. I look forward to it. Sometimes the issues we deal with are complicated, difficult, etc. But it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. And I'm not looking forward to getting off the board, which is a good sign for me. Now, that might not be a good sign for you, but it's a good sign for me. So thank you to everybody. I appreciate it.
All right, Ginny.
Yeah, I also want to thank the staff, the professionalism in many, many areas. I know it's been a very challenging year. I especially want to thank you for the partnership.
Not now, sweetie.
For the partnership in terms of working with CA and the issues that you would raise them, give us a chance to look at them, address them. And it was a very positive way that you were doing that, Sandy and everybody, Jonathan and everybody on the board. I really appreciate that. It gave us time to see if we could come up with solutions. So thank you, Amy, all the work that you've done. Brigida, thank you so much.
Thanks, Ginny. Rena?
Yeah, I just want to say to Sandy and all the other guys that you guys were essential before March of last year. And I have worked with you before, Sandy, not so much with everyone else. And I just want to say you're doing a tip-top job.
Thank you. And it's great to have you here with us on the board.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. So Sandy.
That's me.
I'm sorry, did anyone else out there want to speak? I know we have residents who've been around for a lot of our meetings as well. Anyone else going once, going twice? David.
Here,
I just want to once again, to second what everyone has said, that to have, as a member of the RAC and the NRAC, Sandy and everybody has just stepped in. It's amazing that things have gone as smoothly as they have. And that's not covering up that things didn't go smoothly. We just functioned, and we absolutely couldn't have done it without the team, especially Sandy, but everybody pulled and made it work. And it just makes me feel good. We're earning those of us who are volunteers are certainly earning our pay, but they really pulled down their salaries. It was amazing. I'm digging a hole for myself now, so I'm going to stop talking.
Thank you. I'll approve
Thank
anything
you.
you want to do on your house.
All right. So Sandy, the extra little something we have for you, I would share my screen, except I would then be sharing your home address and what we paid for this and all kinds of other stuff. And that would just be completely tacky and a violation of your privacy. But sometime Friday, there's going to be a special delivery at your door. So you're going to get a little thank you bouquet that's actually a fruit berry. It's actually a fruit berry edible. It's an edible arrangement.
Thank you.
So
That's
you can choose whether you share any of it with Ken.
We'll
you
decide.
can have it all to yourself. You don't have to tell him about this. And the card attached to it should say, if they do this right, the OMCA Board of Directors thanks you for your leadership through a challenging year. We appreciate your effort, your professionalism, and your love for Oakland Mills.
Thank you. So thank you everyone for your really kind remarks. And it's been a tough year, but I think it's also been a year we'll never forget in a lot of positive ways. So I appreciate it. It's tiring. This is probably the most tiring 2 weeks of my job. So I will enjoy that fruit on Friday night at the end of our fiscal year. And so thank you so much. It really means a lot to hear things. And I thank all of you. And lastly, you know, we hope to open up our doors in I'd say about 4 weeks when there's more than myself vaccinated and we can be in the building together and feel comfortable. So that looking forward to that in the future. I mean, my staff doesn't know when, or I don't either. It really depends on 1 or 2 more people getting that second shot. So then we'll be open for business, not as usual, but we'll be there. So thank you all. And thank you for the fruit.
That will be great. As for the rest of my remarks, nothing really business related. I think we've kind of taken care of all that at the last meeting and then with our fiscal 21 wrap up. So I just want to say, you know, thanks to all of my colleagues on the board. Thanks for entrusting me with this position for another year. Specifically, Bill, thank you very much. Bill is an incredible vice chair. For every 2 hours we spend together in meetings, Bill and I probably spend another hour together, you know, to those 2 hours talking on the phone, or sometimes I just show up at the end of his soccer practice at the middle school and talk to him. Ginny, thanks for all the time you spent listening to me with the various budget issues and the CA Village relationships. I know you're doing what you can do to improve that relationship. And, you know, I really appreciate the time you would take to, you know, to sit down and have a phone call or a stroll through the village center and, you know, listen to the concerns from the village perspective, and then, you know, do the best you could do up at the CA board. Lynn, I always say I defer everything architecture to Lynn. I don't even like doing this NRAC stuff, but for some reason our rules make me do it. So, I mean, Oakland Mills looks fantastic. It really does. So I appreciate all you're doing as the architecture chair, everything the RAC does, everything even now the NRAC is doing. We didn't have a lot of NRAC activity this year, but we're ending it with some NRAC activity, so that'll carry into next year. Rebecca, thanks for all you do. Certainly you along with Warren do a ton, because Warren's an incoming board member, to ensure that we have not only safe pedestrian and bike access within Oakland Mills, but increased pedestrian and bike access, quality pedestrian and bike access. So I appreciate that. And what a lot of people don't know is, you know, every once in a while, Rebecca and I have to have a call for something and we say it's going to be quick, and then an hour later we're still on the phone, basically solving all of, I would say, all of Columbia's problems, right? At the very least, Columbia's problems, if not Howard County's or Maryland's or the nation's problems. So thank you for all you do. Thank you for your years of service. I'm glad you're continuing your years of service. Rena, thank you for stepping up and volunteering and joining our board. It's great to have you here. It's great to know you'll be here next year. Obviously, we've known each other for a little while, but not in this capacity. So I'm really looking forward to working with you. And unfortunately, I think Rashida ran into a last minute conflict. She's not here, but I'd also like to thank Rashida for stepping up and volunteering to fill one of the vacancies on the board. You know, it's not an easy thing to do for both Rashida and Rena to basically to jump on the train while it's not just in motion, but basically barreling down the track at 100 miles an hour. But you both did it. And I think I can speak for everyone on the board when I say I really appreciate it. It's really great when others in our community see an opportunity and they raise their hand and say, yeah, I'll do that. So I'm so happy we were able to appoint both of you to the board and didn't have to make that tough decision.
Thank you.
And that's all I have to say, unless there are any board business questions for me that you think I should know something about that I haven't mentioned this week. All right, I'll send it over to Ginny.
Thank you, Jonathan. Just a couple of things. One, in terms of the FY21 budget, I moved and was seconded, and it was unanimous vote to allow the villages to keep the excess cash. And I don't know how many of you saw this sheet, but it amounts to the grants and loan, which in some cases villages didn't get any, but in our case, it's 10,000 grant, 10,000 loan, that will not be counted towards the 20%. So you get to keep that in FY21. It totals 280,000 for all the villages. The excess or the assessment share, where CA had budgeted conservatively, the assessments are higher than we thought they'd be, which is good, but that means the villages should get an 8.58% increase. And your concern was, all right, you're going to get at the end of the month and you're going to wind up having to give it back to CA, which didn't make any sense. So you get to keep that and some other things. And that total for Oakland Mills is 81,772, but for all the villages, it's 655,768. And then there's the audit fee and a few other things. So it comes to 958,000. But that passed, it just made sense. However, Jonathan and I have been talking about what's in the future. Now, CA staff has been meeting with the village managers and will continue to do this to work out this 20% and giving money back to CA. What does that do in terms of incentive for you to try and make more money renting facilities and et cetera? I know Andy's been talking to his chair of his board. I know his chair has spoken out actually publicly about allowing, and this was Jonathan's suggestion too, and I raised this with the CA board, about something they should be working on with the managers and perhaps with the chairs of the boards. Look at the feasibility of allowing the village to keep a certain percentage if it was going to be used in the village. And what would that be? I know Owen Brown spent money on tree plantings. CA staff, of course, supervised it, and did the oversight on it, but it was around their community area where they felt they needed more trees, et cetera. So there are a lot of things you can do for both open space, for the buildings that you are responsible for maintaining, for things that, at least in the next couple of years, CA may not have the money to actually fund some of these things. Right now we're funding improvements based on safety and health. Although I think Oakland Mills has been doing pretty good on a couple of these things, paths, the barn, other things. But that is a problem. So I'd just like to encourage you to continue to see if something can be worked out. And I did that publicly at the last CA board member to encourage our staff, CA staff, to do that, to work with you and see if we can come up with a creative solution. So that's one thing. The other thing, whoever is going to be on the CA board, I would hope that this board would really make sure that your CA rep really gains control of Symphony Woods once and for all. That is so, so important. Those 51 acres, you have to make sure your rep does everything possible to achieve that. It's not a maybe, it has to be done. The second part is the easements. When you have to watch what's happening with easements when developers want easements. So you have to make sure that the next CA board does not do that in a private session. It must be done in a public session. In the past, it wasn't. We've changed that. And that's really important. So watch easements, because there are developers really sometimes want easements so they can get more development. There's a lot at stake there. Partnerships, you want to make sure your next CA board continues to work more on partnerships so that you can save some CA resources. And I won't go into that in depth because I've done that before. Land use, please make sure your next CA board member involves you in that, and that they make sure that anything that's done is in the best interest of Oakland Mills, certainly, but Columbia at large. That is really going to be is currently an extremely important issue and will continue to be. There's a lot at stake on that. The other thing is make sure your CA board member continues to improve communication. Thank you, David. Smith. And I think CA has come a long way. He's got his thumb up. Can you see that? CA has come a long way in improving communication. We needed the staff to do it, and we didn't have the money. Then when we were able to hire people, I think you've seen improvements. But that we have a long way to go on our website and our ability to communicate. And our new president must be out in the community, meeting with the village boards, meeting with other stakeholders. That has to happen. So push your CA rep to make sure that happens. The Haven, make sure that they continue to work on that and see what can be done with that property. It's going to cost you a fortune. What can be done in that area? Fairway Golf Course is another one, because there was looking at a plan about whether that should be 18 holes or not. So you need to push your rep to make sure that that continues on track. We had challenges, but I always looked at it as, yes, CA had a lot of challenges, but we had opportunities to look at what services we really need to provide and programs, and how can we do it differently, and how can we partner with others and not duplicate effort, or get partnerships where we get some funding into CA so that we can provide the service, but we get some of the money from other sources. So I think that's about it. But I, again, just want to thank you. You guys have been fantastic to work with. This is a phenomenal board and staff. I just think you've done a lot, an awful lot. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to serve with you. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Ginny, and thank you for representing us at CA. All right. Sandy, Village Manager Report.
Okay, I have on here the election update. We extended our deadline to receive ballots postmarked by the 24th until the 30th. And I just want you to know that as of today, we have gotten over 80 more that have already been put, that are postmarked still within the 24th. So I know it's a little bit of a pain not knowing who our council member is, but in fairness to our residents who had the opportunity to vote through Election Day, we are collecting their ballots. And, you know, the US mail isn't what it used to be. So extending it is, while a little inconvenient for everyone, I think it's working out in fairness to everyone. So the Bobs will tally everything probably late Friday or early Saturday. I'll send an email out to all of you, and that'll follow to an email and a Facebook posting to the community. But thank you all for participating, and for, you know, we will have, when all is said and done, probably, if not the highest turnout, close to the highest turnout again of all of Columbia Villages. And that's not with electronic voting and not with on-site voting. So Oakland Mills residents continue to care about their community and vote. So that's always uplifting. The Bobs were great, did a lot of tallying and the counters. So it all worked out well. I haven't heard back from the county on Stevens Forest Road. I sent that long letter about 3 weeks ago. I know that we asked other questions about the roadway, and they were all involved in their budgets the past 2 weeks, and we were all involved in elections and final things. So that's first on my agenda. I will follow up and send the same letter I sent and ask them for a response. And
Sandy, this is Ashley. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I didn't get a chance to say at the beginning, I also have followed up last week on your letter that was sent over. So
cool.
I am too following up for you, as well as Jonathan on the one for you all.
Thank you, because that always helps. So thanks, Ashley, and thanks
You're
for all
welcome.
you've done with us this year too. Thank you. Financial and operations, you've pretty much seen it. We're now going to transition into be opening up every day. Like I think the governor is going to actually announce, if he hasn't already this afternoon, capacity for indoors. But this Saturday, we have our first new wedding of the season. So we're all excited about that. We have all our hand sanitizers up and working, and Brigida's been really busy giving tours and getting everything ready for that. And I want to shout out to not only the staff that's here, I'll get to you later, but Charlotte Cook is here, and we have not seen Charlotte for a year, but she will be getting a call from me because we want to have her be able to welcome people back at the other barn once we are there. So hang in there, Charlotte. We'll get you back.
For right now, it's a beautiful day at Zoom.
Yeah. So we miss Charlotte and Donna at the front. And I want to really thank Amy so much. I haven't seen her this year except like a week ago. She dropped off her computer here to get fixed. So, but I've connected with Amy and Brigida and Carrie and Karina every Wednesday for the past year on Zoom. And that has kept us together. And we really look forward to those meetings to catch up on everything in life in Oakland Mills. And so I just want to thank Amy. It's been tough for her with all of her kids at home working, and she's going to school, but she never fails to come bright-eyed and with a great smile. And she brought the school news back to life and the e-news and all the other things she does on our website. So Amy, thank you. And I can't wait till we can see you in person again. And as I said, Brigida's been just, an enormous help to me in keeping the building going and rentals. And Karina, I haven't, again, seen her in a year except on Zoom. And she's been an amazing attribute to the community in handling all of the difficult property concern issues. So I couldn't have gotten through without that. And Carrie will actually transition once we go back to the job that Tom Dudek used to have. She will reduce her hours and she will do the compliance letters. That fits in with her life and her family. And it'll be great for us because we still get to have her expertise, and she has a passion for her job, but the hours were just more than she could do right now. So you will be looking for a new covenant advisor after I get through this next week, and hiring someone to take the applications part of it. So again, thank you all. It's been a great year just working with you, and thank you for your support. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Sandy? All right. Lynn, do you have a last architecture report for the year?
Just something quick. I just want to say that Sandy, I know that you're looking forward to handing off being the person who
I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
It's been really fun. I have really enjoyed it. And the real plus, certainly, it's not nice not being able to go into the other barn, but a real plus of having the RAC meetings on Zoom has been that we really, just as you saw tonight, that when you see plans, if everybody can look at it on their screen, it's really beneficial to the RAC members. Normally we have a little paper thing and the applicant comes and kind of moves around behind us, and it's very difficult a lot of times to really follow what's going on. And this is having it on Zoom is really helpful. And the other part that's helpful is that we have a lot of our residents come and say their little piece about their application, what it is they want to do, and then just hang in until the end of the meeting because they like to see what everybody else is doing. And so I can't help but think that seeing all of the really great and thorough applications that we've been getting has inspired a lot of our residents to think, well, next time, oh, that looks really great. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe the in-ground pool with the swim up bar is really the way to go. So, we'll see how it goes. But a lot of people have contacted me and said how much fun it was to watch what the other people were doing, what they were doing in the meeting. So that's all good. And then just something really quick, which is that I think we can all see the improvements that have been made and the strides in Oakland Mills. And I'm looking forward in this coming year that the two things that are really important to me, or have become more and more, they've always been important, but have become more important to me, is trying to get a handle on the number of trees that are being taken down and the amount of concrete that's being poured. So I'm hoping to really, for those of you who have been on the board for a while, we used to have these workshops, the renew, restore, whatever. And I'm looking forward to developing some educational materials and hopefully a workshop where we could talk about what are some of the alternatives to the way things are being done now. Because I think a lot of times people just don't know. Somebody shows up at their door and says, you know, I've got the truck here, I'm trimming somebody's tree. If you let me, you know, cut down your trees, it'll save you money. Or they don't even know what the alternatives might be to having a concrete driveway. And so, and of course, there are lots of other issues when we're talking about being more environmentally sensitive to what we're doing. It's nice that we're all doing so many renovations and property improvements, but we really want to educate ourselves in what the most, what current practices are. What are the things that people are really recommending now, given what we're dealing with the environment. So that's it for me.
All right, thank you, Lynn. Well, we're on to the bulletin board. So, excuse me, Amy, anything from the front office?
I just want to say thank you, all the love tonight. I love serving with you guys. I guess it's service, but it's also I get paid. But I love my job, and you guys make it just great. You're everything. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Amy. All right, I'm gonna work the list now. Ginny? Nothing else? I think okay, Bill?
Yes, I'd like to say thank you to the fact that we live in the United States of America, where diversity of thoughts and ideas or feelings are treasured, where we all have expressed what we think and feel firmly and respectfully, and we have all listened to each other with respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Rebecca?
I don't really have anything other than I have really enjoyed this year with you guys and looking forward to carrying on with all of our various projects.
Excellent. Lynn?
Nothing more.
Okay, Rena?
Looking forward to the future.
Me too. Sandy?
I think I forgot to mention Jonathan, so I don't think that we could have had or continue to have the success we have without you, Jonathan. And you're, you know, I know that I could text you at 7 a.m. and that you're going to be there with the right answer. And it's just the support you give everyone and the care that you have for the community really makes us all shine more. So thank you.
That's what I said too.
But oh, Bill, are you?
Could I do an addendum? I'm going to step out of line and I'm going to get to the future. In our first meeting next year, I'm going to nominate Jonathan for chair of the board.
Oh, well, thank you.
For life.
No, wait a minute. Are we punishing me or what? Well, all right. I guess that brings it to me. Well, I said what I said in the report. You know, thank you all very much. I mean, really, we can't do it as a full team. So, you know, I appreciate everyone here. I truly everyone, not just the members of the board, but the members of the staff, our residents who just come out to our meetings, our residents who volunteer for our committees and events. A couple of you are still here with us now. I saw the Pattersons were here. They're unless you've moved back, you're former residents still attending our meetings. So that's really great to see. So, you know, thank you very much to everyone. Just an administrative thing before I close this out, we will meet on May 11th. The new board will meet on May 11th. And all of the voting members of the board who are present now are obviously on the new board with the addition of Warren. So congratulations and thank you to all of you. For those of you who haven't experienced this before, that first meeting of the year is usually a very what I'll call administrative one. So Sandy actually opens the meeting. She's the presiding officer because there are no other officers elected yet. And then we basically work through all of our officer positions on the board, our committees, et cetera. And we try to get as many administrative things out of the way in that first meeting as we can, assuming that we have, you know, volunteers to take all the positions and chair all of our committees and fun stuff like that. So don't be surprised when you get an agenda that looks a bit different than the typical board agenda. That's just the way the first meeting has to go so that we can get ourselves rolling right away. So thank you all very, very much. And this adjourns the meeting, and this adjourns the 2021 OMCA board year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wow. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.